Salut tout le monde, j'espère que ça va bien. Aujourd'hui, on va découvrir pour la première fois Stanley Parable, qui est un jeu que j'ai encore jamais fait, que j'ai jamais vu, ou du moins j'ai que très peu vu de gameplay de. Et donc, on va le découvrir en direct. C'est un jeu que j'avais envie d'essayer depuis longtemps. En réalité, je l'ai acheté depuis un bout de temps déjà, mais je l'ai juste jamais essayé. Donc, voilà. Je fais juste terminer un petit truc avant qu'on commence directement. Ça et hop. Dame c'est rapide. Ok. Et hop. Ok. Donc, Stanley Parable. Donc, jeu humoristique où le narrateur joue avec le personnage principal. Qui est donc nous. Parce que ouais, on est les main characters ici. On n'est pas. On est relevant à l'histoire. Donc, ouais. C'est la première fois que je lance le jeu, fait que là pour l'instant il me pose plein de questions. Pourquoi t'as besoin de ça? What the fuck? Ok. Ok. On va lui donner l'heure actuelle, I guess. Je sais pas pourquoi il y a besoin de ça. Les paramètres d'accessibilité sont accessibles depuis le menu principal, ok. Je sais pas pourquoi il me dit ça, mais... Alors. Est-ce que le son est correct? J'imagine que oui. Je pense juste le laisser genre normal. Alors. Moi juste... Non, attends. Quelques settings qu'il faut mettre. Ok. Ok, ouais, non, ça a l'air d'être correct. Stanley! Oui, c'est moi, Stanley. Attends, le bras, je le sors 2 fois. C'est horrible. Ok. Ok. Donc. Et en même temps, bah, ça va prendre du temps comme d'habitude. C'est pas surprenant. Ok. Puis y a rien ici, j'imagine, qui est vraiment important. Y a pas grand commande. Non, ça a l'air d'être correct. Alright. J'ai commencé la game. Ça y est. C'est fait. Enfin.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk.
Ok, merci.
And stepped out of his office.
Okay. Parce qu'un jeu narratif, je suis désolé, mais Je joue pas à Call of Duty, ok? Ok, fait que E pour interagir, c'est normal. Je suis pas... je peux pas
All of
l'escape,
his
là.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
For the love of God, please unplug me.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Y'a-tu une plug là-dessus? Pas l'air d'avoir une plug. Elle est pas accessible, elle est derrière. Ah merde, j'ai fermé l'ordi. I like work, I just hate my boss. True. Je peux vraiment cette porte-là, merde. Je voulais la fermer, puis au final pas faire la suite. Ok. How to use help Windows.exe. Ouh, une porte ici. Je peux pas y aller! Quelle arnaque! Mais d'ailleurs, pourquoi il y a des papiers partout, hein? Knowing your city.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Hey, tu vas pas me mettre la pression pour que je bouge, ok? I hate Mondays. True. Oh! Une porte que je peux fermer, ouvrir, let's go! Sales in this quarter. Chris, ça a droppé. ça a plus que droppé. En plus, quand on considère que les projections étaient déjà mauvaises. Tabarnak.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Merde. Je suis revenu en arrière. Attends, il a dit que je voulais aller à gauche.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Exactement, tout compris. Pourquoi la lampe est allumée? C'est du gaspillage d'électricité. Ça aussi. Okay.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
C'est juste une salle. Hein. Attends, peu importe ce que t'appuies, ça fait un bruit de clavier.
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Ah oui? Hey, moi je suis un vrai fan d'or. Tu es
At this
ébloui, ouais,
point,
je sais moi
Stanley's
aussi.
obsession with this room bordered on creepy
Damn,
and
des
reflected
coffee
poorly
nuts.
on his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left.
Bon, y a pas eu de feu, à moins que c'est une caméra de surveillance puis qu'elle est vraiment fuckée.
Stanley sat around waiting for more dialogue, but when a long time had passed and there was no more, he decided that the game was trying to send him a message.
Non. Attends, c'est... Ah bah oui, du coup c'est la vraie heure, vu qu'ils me l'ont demandé.
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
Words. Meilleur titre. Do not lie if you're lying right now. Stop.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Ben pour une fois, hey, j'ai suivi des instructions pendant 90 ans, puis après, il y en avait plus, fait que, hey, fuck it. Depuis que j'ai 4 ans, je suis ici. Ok. Bon, moi, je peux plus sauter. Number 1. Je sais pas c'est quoi le reste. Do not jump from the cargo lift while it's in motion. Will cause death. Penalty for misuse of cargo lift. 1000. Penalty for jumping off the cargo lift. 5000. Putain, mais il y a un camion. Oh, il y a un camion qui est activé. Il y a des gens en vie? Finalement, non?
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is, but in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Je suis juste un sneak! Puis ça m'a tué!
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
J'ai même pas fait exprès!
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Ok, deuxième essai, cette fois je...
Look,
je vais même pas
Stanley,
être
I
proche
think
des
perhaps
bords,
we've
ok?
gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why... I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
J'ai l'impression qu'il est contre moi. Mais je sais pas. J'ai pas de carte. Chier. Ok. Cargo Operator's Manual. Do not stand on this side of the fence. Merde. Hein?
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Ouais, ok, ouais.
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. You see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time. The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
Je suis comme pas convaincu. Ah non!
What do we want? What are we looking for?
Freedom? Death?
Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment. No, wait. Where are you going? Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this. Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing.
Est-ce que j'ai envie de réfléchir? I mean, je veux dire, j'ai passé 90 ans à travailler, à juste appuyer sur des touches qu'on nous disait d'appuyer. Est-ce que je suis vraiment capable de réfléchir par moi-même?
No! Oh, thank God, you lived.
Merde.
You had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please get back to the other room?
Ah ouais, t'inquiète.
No. No, what are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this? Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me? My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You were literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy.
Ouais, j'avais envie d'acheter le jeu pour me suicider dans le jeu. Ah, fuck
Maybe
you!
you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask.
Oh, il me fait
It
trop la
looks
peine.
like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours. Do you actually want to stay alive? Or are you just teasing me?
Je suis tellement lent, c'est horrible. Là, si je me jette puis je crève pas, tant pis. Mais d'ailleurs, c'est qui est chargé de la sécurité ici?
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Ok. Donc, c'est reparti.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others?
Je vais peut-être juste regarder de quoi. Ça marche.
Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you
Je sais pas
see
c'est
that
dans
it's
lequel
killing
j'étais
us,
allé.
Stanley?
Mais les deux, c'est la même chose, je pense.
I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you. What do we want? What are we looking for? Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
Ouais, c'est beau, hein? C'est surtout flou. Je vais pas te mentir. Oh! Ok, ça c'est stylé. Ça, je l'avoue, c'est stylé. Je sais pas. Mais c'est pas important, je pense. Qui aurait besoin de ça quand tu peux juste taper sur des boutons qu'on dit d'appuyer? I mean. Ah, pourquoi y'a pas de... Pourquoi y'a pas d'étoiles? Genre, y'a des étoiles partout autour, sauf en haut. Oh. Ah! Est-ce qu'il va se passer de quoi? Je pense pas, hein. Je pense que j'ai pas besoin de me suicider. Ou du moins...
No, wait. Where are you going?
Du moins...
Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this. Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. Please, Stanley, think... No! Oh, thank God. You lived. You had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please get back to the other room? There. See? This is what you want. This is where we can both be happy. We really can. If we stop moving,
En fait, on prend-tu
we
la
just
drogue en ce
have to
moment?
stop moving.
C'est-tu la drogue qu'on est en train de prendre? Ouais, very cool.
Stanley, go back. There's nothing good that can come from this. No. No, no, what do you do? Do you just not believe me? What can I say to convince you?
Bah, je sais pas, trouve. Ah, c'est là, non.
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that? Yes.
Tu peux encore sauver le
Perhaps you can. Perhaps you finally see what I'm talking about.
Maybe.
I know you'll see that we can't be happy if we leave this place. You can see that, can't you? No, perhaps not.
Un petit dessin d'enfant.
My God, is this really how much you dislike my game?
Oui.
That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid
Oui.
of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy.
Oui.
Am I reading the situation correctly?
Oui.
Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours.
Oui. Ce jeu résumé en 2 phrases. Oui. Et oui.
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Alright!
All of his co-workers were gone.
En tout inclus
What
le
could it
sudoku.
mean?
Quoi?
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Le sudoku. Parle... Quoi?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Ah, mais si jamais j'ai découvert que j'étais gay, mon calisse. Tout bad alors. Oh non, pas encore. Oh my god.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another,
je suis le premier à l'appeler, mais en train de m'appeler.
As Stanley picked up the phone, a white light engulfed him, filling him not just with radiance, but with hope. Hope for a life reunited one... Wait. Oh, goodness. Stanley, did you just unplug the phone? No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly? I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person.
No.
I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Rupert has a choice. He could invent a machine that eliminates food shortages across the world to make life better for all people. Or he could spend years of hard work forgetting how to read. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack." Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Ok, c'est bon, j'ai bien appris.
Ah, welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
D'ailleurs, veux-tu me faire revenir jusqu'aux 2 portes? Ah non, ouais, les 2 portes qu'il y avait là-bas.
Now that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story. That story would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
J'ai vraiment mis des barrières pour éviter que je saute. Comme si je penserais à sauter des fois.
Almost there. You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending, the story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world. Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
la gauche. Ah merde, je connais pas ma gauche, ma droite.
No! Why did you do that?
Ah merde, attends, c'est le mauvais choix.
Hurry back in the other direction.
C'est bon,
Perhaps we're not too late.
On recommence. Ok, attends. Droite, gauche, ok. Je pense que je fais tout comme Ok, attends, non, c'est bon. Ok. Gauche, droite. Fuck. Ok, gauche. Je crois. Ça? Je pense que c'est ça. Non, parce que des fois, je connais pas ma gauche et ma droite, fait que des fois, je prends les mauvais choix.
Oh, it's ruined. I can't believe, after everything we talked about, that my story, you've destroyed my work. Why? For what? What did you get out of that? What did you think was so special about seeing the game undone, left here like so much garbage? It's worthless now. And what am I supposed to do? Even if there were a way to continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever, reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down entirely? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do?
Ouais, non, ça, je
What do I do? What do I No, I have to. I have to shut the game down. I have to. I have to.
Oh my god. Est-ce qu'on peut dire que c'est suicidé? Damn, début de portal.
Oh, I'm here. I'm still here. Here in this pile of rubbish. With you. You. Who thought you were so clever. Now look where we are. My entire game is destroyed. It was the only thing in the world that was mine, and you've run it into the ground. What, did you think that would be funny?
Oui.
You just had to see? Didn't I impress upon you how important it was to be like Stanley? He actually knows how to do what I tell him to. He understands that if I say to do something, there's a damn good reason for it. That thought hadn't even occurred to you, had it? That there's a world outside of you? You're
Mais c'est pas de ma faute! Je connais pas ma gauche et ma droite, c'est pas de ma faute!
My story. If you'd just gone through the door on the left, you would have seen it. There was a whole underground facility. You would have destroyed it and been victorious. It would have been so perfect. I worked so hard on it. I tried so hard to
make... j'ai pas fait exprès. Ah.
Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Droite, gauche. Ben, je sais pas, moi, je connais pas ma gauche et ma droite, c'est pas important. C'est pas important d'habitude de la gauche et la droite. Huh? Oh,
yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Okay. Yes, je suis unique. Woohoo! What is that? Profits.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Je sais même pas quoi se passer.
Stepping inside his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, until he saw the door with a voice receiver next to it. Surely behind this door lay all the answers to his questions. And beyond all probability, he knew the passcode. He had seen it on his boss's computer just last week. Nightshark 115. Was this the code to open the door? Would it still work? There was only one way to find out. Stanley had been trained never to speak up, but now he would draw from within himself the courage to face the unknown. He drew a sharp breath and then spoke the code.
Fuck you. J'ai déjà oublié le code.
Stanley spoke the code. Nightshark 115. He spoke it into the receiver, right there on the wall. I'm sorry, is there a problem? You didn't mishear me, did you? Please speak the code into the receiver. Otherwise we can't get on with the story. This is a crucial step.
Ça c'est deep par contre. Business strategy. kill pandas.
Okay, fine, you're not gonna do it, but you know what? It's pretty humiliating to bring you this far, only for you to suddenly decide you have better things to do. I asked you for this one single thing, for your respect. The kind of respect Stanley shows for his choices. He knows what it means to take a story seriously. If you didn't want to see what I had to show you, then why did you come here? You had a choice, you know. You could have gone through the door on the right. You could have done whatever the hell you wanted over there. Why did you come this way? Speak. Say something to me. Explain yourself, you coward. You... When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Stanley? Hello? Are you... Is everything okay? Stanley, please. I need you to make a choice. I need you to walk through the door. Are you listening to me? Can you hear me? Is everything all right? Stanley, this is important.
Quand je fais des choix, il veut pas, mais quand je fais pas de choix, il est pas content.
It needs you to make a decision. It cannot exist without you. Do you understand me? Whatever choice you make is just fine. They're both correct. You cannot be wrong here. We can work together. I'll accept whatever you do. I simply need you to take that step forward, please. Choose. Do something. Anything. This is more important than you can ever know. I need this. The story needs it.
Quoi, c'est pas normal?
So, you hear me? Are you there?
C'est pas normal d'avoir accès à 4 minutes?
Stanley, are you there? Okay. It's okay, I can wait. You need time to decide. Time to make sure
5 heures avant la fin. Damn. Pas capable de suivre des chemins à ce point-là.
I'll wait for you to decide what's the right thing to do.
C'est qui le roi?
Take as much time as you need. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Hein? Pardon? Quelque chose marche pas là. Wait, what? Hein?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Merde, je voulais marcher tout droit. Je suis déçu. Ah merde, j'ai appuyé sur le bouton en plus. Hey, je sais pas ce que j'ai aujourd'hui là, j'arrive pas à suivre.
But Stanley didn't want to get back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go from here it's left.
Ah merde, je suis pas allé ici.
Oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake.
Ah, ok, t'inquiète. C'est correct, c'est correct. T'inquiète, t'inquiète.
No,
non, attends, c'est pas à droite.
Right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right?
Ouais, je sais pas.
What was I thinking?
C'est, hey, les erreurs
clearly...
des fois.
Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
Ah. T'inquiète. Tout va bien.
Now, let's see. We
Je te
went
pardonne.
down, right, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes.
Ah, t'as trouvé?
I've got it now.
Cool.
This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Ah, ok. Ouais, il est bon pour apprendre la gauche et la droite, hein. Puis après, ça me chiale dessus quand je me trompe. Hey, y a quelqu'un ici?
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
C'est qui fired, pis c'est qui ça qui mérite le
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Ça risque d'être un peu long. Je suis dans les backrooms. Oh, je pense pas. Bon. En plus, c'est littéralement les backrooms, what the fuck.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Ok.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ah non, ok, c'est rien à
Okay,
voir.
yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from.
Ah.
Why don't we go back the other direction
On peut voir.
and see if we missed anything? Aha! I knew we'd missed something. The story. Here it comes.
What the
No,
fuck?
wait. Never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
Ouais, c'est exactement d'où est-ce que je viens.
Now this... Well, I'll be honest. I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct?
Non.
Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what?
Oui.
Since I've completely forgotten what we were
Parce qu'en
supposed
fait-
to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off. So, good job.
Merci.
Oh, no, I don't feel right about this at all. We
Okay, fuck
both
you.
know you didn't put in any actual work for that
Mais
win.
là-
Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations.
C'est pas de ma
Okay?
faute.
I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time, I have to restart. All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable adventure line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
Ok, je suis son histoire.
No, I'm down. We're leaving it up to the line from now on.
Ah, ok, la ligne. Non, excuse. Je pensais pas. Ok.
You see? The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story?
No.
Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Okay, Stanley, I need to follow this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me. Now, we can both agree that the nature of existence is in fact a byproduct of one's subjective experience of that existence, right?
J'adore les jeux.
Now, if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office, is this office in fact the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood. Cut the music, go back and look at that fern. Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully.
C'est vrai qu'on
You won't want to miss
des
anything.
corridors de Scooby. Ok.
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
Finalement, elle a pas l'air incroyable sa ligne. Je dis ça de même là, mais faudrait peut-être la réviser un peu. Oh, je sais. La musique c'est fucking forte. Ah, fait que ça veut dire que c'est no copyright, ça, nice. Qu'est-ce qu'on fait ici encore?
Oh, no, not again, Line. How could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
La dernière encore là. Let's go.
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for
Mais la
us?
laine était
We're
cool!
intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Nouvelle zone.
Now, yes, this is exciting.
Première fois
Just
que
me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it.
Dame, je suis vraiment revenu en arrière. Fait qu'il faut juste que je continue à tourner.
Oh, no, not you again.
La line!
Stanley, I'd also like to veto
Encore,
the line
let's
from
go!
having any role in our
Ça m'a
awesome
tellement
new
manqué.
story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
Il m'avait tellement manqué. Elle s'en va où?
Ah, a choice.
Ouais, le premier
We
best
get to
character,
make a
c'est moi.
decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits. Oh, hold up, what's this?
Oh.
The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to
Les deux
decide?
éliminés à même endroit.
Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it.
Il prend des choix, je suis fier de lui.
Stopped?
Ah.
Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait, you know. I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story, wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you...
Narrateur.
Stanley knew the office layout like the back of his hand. It was only a matter of time before he found the others, wherever
Narrateur.
they were. Just a matter of time.
J'ai tout oublié?
When
Non!
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Je sais pas, la ligne est pas là.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
On est d'accord, je peux pas descendre la dernière fois.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real.
C'est vrai.
And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. He thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
What the?
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Ah, je suis ici.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
What the fuck? Qu'est-ce qui se passe?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Oh.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work.
What the fuck?
But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran. Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others, so the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Pour l'instant,
The
je suis
lounge was
mort
grand,
quasiment toutes les fins sauf une.
perhaps too, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Ouais, avec une seule pause, je peux.
Yet there was not a single person
Comment
here
j'ai pu arriver
either.
ici?
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Je peux y
Stanley
aller?
stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Pourquoi un logo de radioactivité là-dessus?
There was nothing here, no choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here. It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA. Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around
C'est
doing
le
nothing?
fun!
Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely
C'est juste le
confused.
fun de rester là, devant un écran. Enfin, pas un écran du coup. Devant des outils.
You do realize
Et
there's no
juste rien
choice
faire.
or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
Bah oui, avec tes
Maybe to you
homies.
this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friends, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite. I hope your friends find this concerning.
Je sais pas si tu inquiétant.
Stanley was fat and ugly and really, really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Oui. Mais c'est un problème comme les autres, tu sais.
Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose.
Ouais, mais je suis comme moi,
Hello?
je suis pas...
Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. They have fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
Y'a rien d'autre, hein. Y'a-t-il quelque chose d'autre? Je pense que non.
Ah, second player. It's good to have you on board. I guarantee... You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Perhaps there's a monkey nearby you can hand the controls to. A fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ah, là, y'a un truc ici dessus. I've got the feeling money is for stealing, but not yours, of course. So that's C'est quoi qui est écrit là? Ah, Lovely Purse. Ok. Graphs. C'est juste des graphiques. Je sais pas où est-ce que je m'en vais. La musique est incroyable. On s'en va-tu genre au 400e étage? J'aime quand je rentre dans un ascenseur et la musique prononce mon nom sans arrêt. Ah, y'a quelqu'un qui chante! Ça va? Oh, padam, pam. Il peut pas de fonctionner très bien. Hein. Oh, ça a changé ça ici.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
J'ai oublié le code.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845. Two, 8, 4, 5. Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself, and Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
C'est un bon système de sécurité, hein. Si tu te trompes trop de fois, il s'ouvre. En binaire. Je peux même pas être de 1. Déçu. Que je vois littéralement rien ici. Oh! Ascenseur! Attends, j'appuie sur celui d'en bas. Ok. Je suis en train de monter alors que j'appuie sur celui d'en bas.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Whoops, nope, never mind. Stanley actually got back into the elevator and went back up. Silly me. Why did Stanley do that when he knew that it would just lead back to his boss's office? Well, that's a great question. I just can't wait to find out.
Ok. À la portable. Oh, on est même pas au même endroit. Ah si, on est au même endroit.
Here we are, Stanley. It's your boss's office. Exactly the way it was before you got onto the elevator. It's still just exactly what it is. What a decision you've made to come up here and look at the office again. This has fleshed out the plot of the story in new and fascinating ways I could have never anticipated. It's that keen eye for storytelling that you have, an incisive rapid fire of critical plot points, one after the other, weaving a rich tapestry of uncompromising narrative.
C'est tellement deep mon histoire là.
I'm bolted to the edge of my seat.
Bonjour, boss. Oh non, je vais pas mentir, j'ai aucune idée de pourquoi je suis revenu.
Incredible. Now he's getting back into the elevator and going down again. Ladies and gentlemen, how does he keep coming up with all of this?
Ouais, y a pas de musique, sinon elle est poche.
Did you think we were going to go forward down the spooky corridor? No. It's time once again to go back up in the elevator. I can't even begin to grapple with what might be up there. Is it the boss's office again? Or what if it's the boss's office this time? The suspense is killing me.
C'est vrai, hein, c'est inconnu ce qu'il y a en haut là. On n'a jamais été.
Oh my God. It's the boss's office. This absolutely changes everything for me. Give me a time out here for a minute while I process this.
C'est bon.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm
Okay.
prepared to embrace this stunning revelation and to move forward with... No! No, wait! No! I need more time to process.
Oh là là. C'est clair.
All right. I have fully come to terms with it. I have made space in my worldview for this astonishing new reality. As before, I turn to your expert eye for gripping narrative, Master Stanley.
C'est bon.
Of course. Going back down in the elevator. How did I not anticipate it? I mean, sure, now it's obvious, but you have to understand that 30 seconds ago, this kind of thing had never been attempted before. I had no frame of reference to even anticipate it. That's just how revelatory Stanley's decision-making is. A breath of fresh air in a landscape of storytelling
Non,
that has
vraiment,
grown
c'est...
stale and repetitive.
Je suis un bon auteur. Je sais. En storytelling, là, incroyable. Avoir des temps de chargement juste pour monter puis descendre.
You know what? I've just thought of something. Hold on, let's stop for a moment. Don't you realize? It's the anticipation, Stanley. You and I, we have no way of knowing what will be at the top of this elevator. But the suspense, the agony of waiting and anticipating and having to guess, that's the real thrill.
C'est vrai.
Oh, I simply don't want to let that feeling go. It's so precious, so fleeting. Why don't we take this elevator ride nice and slow? There we go. Isn't this so much more exciting? You know, Stanley, it seems like nowadays the only thing that audiences want is to be shocked as loudly and frequently as possible. They want big, explosive moments flung right in their faces from the very moment that things get started. But where's the tension? Where's the trust in the audience to build a slow and nuanced appreciation for the story, the characters? Why aren't we given time to imagine the surprises, to have to think and to anticipate, and then to marvel at the eventual reveal? This is storytelling, Stanley. What you and I are doing right now. This is the most exciting narrative to be developed in years, and it's really all because of you. You're the one who took this bold step of revisiting the exact same locations over and over. Truly, I mean it. This is unique and different. It's not like anything else out there. You see, I want stories that surprise me, Stanley. I want to have to think. I want to be engaged and not pandered to. We're being fed such unimaginative drivel all the time, and we all know it, which is why we're so starved for content that makes us feel sharp and vital and alive. That's why people like you so much, Stanley. Because you're not afraid to spit in the face of tradition. You're a role model, you know? People look up to you. Which is why, though I didn't know when to spring this on you, but, well, I've gathered a little press conference for you. So that you can talk about your work and your storytelling and your life. Yes, I know you're not much for the public eye, but I thought it would especially mean a lot to the people who have been following you from the beginning. They really look up to you, Stanley. I don't know if you realize the impact you have on them. This is the kind of gesture that might leave a tremendous impact on them for the better. Oh, good. Okay, the room where we're holding the press conference should be just around the corner here somewhere.
The guy who went to Mars. Bah ouais. Ouf. Le tapis rouge. Pour un homme parfait.
Ah, yes, here it is, just through this door.
The man, the process, the myth, the legend, the parable. Elon Musk looking different. World's first sentient machine. Doing great. A conversation with Alexander the Great. Bah oui, toi.
All right, are you ready? I've told them you're going to speak a little bit about the nature of surprise in storytelling and what it means to craft a truly unpredictable narrative. Oh, don't worry. You'll do great. Just be yourself and speak from the heart. I'm really proud of you, Stanley.
For you, grown.
Okay, it looks like they're ready for you.
You make me feel alive.
Get 'em.
Your wife from the apartment ending. Oh! I love the way you ride elevators. No one tells stories the way you do. Go get 'em, Tiger. Thanks for showing me that cool skateboard trick in the parking lot. You're too cool. Good luck on stage. Rock on. Break a leg. Ah, mon boss il m'a envoyé 2 messages. Weird. The dude who came up with pizza. Salut tout le monde! C'est-tu un rêve? J'étais-tu dans le bureau du boss depuis tantôt?
Even now, Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did it look like? There was a computer, perhaps, and a painting. Was it a painting or a photo? He could no longer recall. Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Ah, c'est même pas un élévateur. C'est même pas un ascenseur, je suis déçu.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
On s'en va dans le bureau du boss!
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
Y'a pas de musique.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Tu continues!
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
C'est génial comme jeu! C'est tellement mieux! Je peux plus sauter! C'est ça le nouveau contenu! Mais c'est à chier! C'est déjà fini!
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Ouais, non, il y a beaucoup d'efforts qui étaient mis dans le...
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated.
Wow. Attends, faut que je vérifie ça. Attends, c'est où mes succès? Ah, ici. Ah oui, succès test, ça a ignoré, what the fuck.
And I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game? And we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills,
Je
no
pense que ça doit être l'endroit où il y a du
having a
contenu
great time
X.
together like always. What do you say,
Je pense que c'est ça,
friend?
Twitter. C'est... Ah ben non, c'est pareil finalement. C'est pareil.
Psst! Stanley! Come over here! In the vent! I want to show you something! Oh, you don't want to see the cool surprise I made for you? Well, fine.
Le bureau!
You're a dork anyway, so who cares?
New content! Oh. Je vais refaire le jump rope.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Oh no, no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time.
J'en peux plus. Il est en train de crever. Oh my god.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming! He yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream.
C'est un rêve.
So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Je suis ici.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
C'est long.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran. Psst! Stanley! Come over here! In the vent! I want to show you something.
Coffee nut. What the... Et c'est comme ça que je suis mort. Ah non, je suis en vie.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look. Ooh. I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
The Memory Zone.
You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
The Last of Us, Stanley Parable. The original remake. Start page, go to a website. Smile because it happened. A trip down memory lane. $1. C'est vrai que ça c'est ma partie préférée du jeu. Ah! Laissez-moi jouer à la démo. Go outside, don't play for 5 years. It is impossible to get this achievement. Game innovation. Debut game. Story. Un journal totalement vrai. Los Angeles Times, c'est aussi vrai. Disons que ça c'était pas ma partie préférée du jeu. Le moment où je suis mort parce que j'étais fou. Little Stanley. C'est qui?
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Mais en même temps, c'est la meilleure partie du jeu. Wow, attends, pourquoi... Ok. Pourquoi il y a une image de portal ici? Minecraft, what the fuck? La line! Une image de la conception, I guess. Person of the year. On-off avec plein de boutons que j'ai pas encore vu. Pourquoi elle est encore là, la dame? The original remake. Ah non, pas ces deux portes là. Ça, je l'ai pas vu non plus.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone. To spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
Et comment je suis allé là? Stanley? Plutôt narrateur. Ah! Ok, mais man, c'est parce que je voudrais continuer, moi, là.
These were simpler times, Stanley. What I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Oh oui, bizarre.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them. Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have...
Alright.
Hold on to. These black marks are my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
To never give them up. Never gonna let them down.
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Let's go!
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you... Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary... Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes.
Va.
Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours.
Mais
You've just been
c'est toi qui arrête pas
frozen
de
there.
parler pour
I
rien
don't know
dire.
why the skips are getting longer, but they're... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again.
Là,
Stanley,
parle pas trop longtemps.
I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks.
Ok, tu parles trop longtemps.
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we...
C'est trop deep. Attends.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability, it's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. The end is never the end, 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 is never the end.
Ah, c'est non un boost. Oh, j'ai de la lumière. Il y a des mouches aussi. Oh, il y a de la verdure! La vie! C'est la nuit? C'est quoi ce bruit? Je suis peut-être un peu inquiet. Ah! La liberté! I am free! La liberté! Enfin! Le narrateur est plus dans ma fucking tête, je suis libre! Je peux réfléchir par moi-même! Ah, shit. Here we go again.
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned? He made a note to be more careful with time from now on. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. And here it was, the lounge. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
All right.
That's her, Stanley.
C'est GLaDOS.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley. Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Non. Moi j'écoute plus. Moi j'écoute plus. Bon, ok, juste cette fois.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Je peux faire de quoi?
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Je vais m'amuser.
So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Ouais, ok, non,
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there
Je
is
sais
no
pas de
answer. How could
Ah,
there
ça-
possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it. You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Damn. New content!
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Ça me dit quoi? Le saut, le saut, le saut, le saut.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable
Le deuxième
2.
jeu! Let's go!
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Photo of painting.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
Logo IDs. Quel meeting. Il a rajouté un 2, puis il l'a mis en rouge.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
New content, new content, new content.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Eh, c'est vraiment cool ça, un bouton avec ton nom dedans. Oh, je peux acheter du merch. Y'a personne par contre. Y'a seulement de portes. Nice. Tu manges quoi?
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
A figurine! C'est même pas mon plus. J'en ai un!
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Ok. Achievement. Pull the lever, receive your new achievement. No more steps, it just works.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident?
What?
Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement.
Let's go!
Yes. You see, you're... Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Ah! Bon, ben pas d'achievement. On nous a menti.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Science.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly
Yes,
fond
sir.
of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium. You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so.
I
Now
love
then, since you've
going
gotten to
deep
see the
into holes.
infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward. Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top.
Pourquoi?
Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
Pourquoi il est censé être infini? Ça devrait être correct. C'est infini, right?
Okay, Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole.
Comment
Is
t'as
it a
pu?
very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of
Il nous
the
a
hole.
menti.
You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely?
Moi?
I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem.
C'est toi le problème.
Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite?
Non.
If that works for you,
No.
then go ahead and press the teleport button
No.
to warp up to the top of the hole.
Moi,
and we
je veux
can
mon
move
trou
on.
infini.
I'll just be up here when you're ready.
Je veux mon trou infini. Tu pourras pas t'en aller comme ça. Je veux mon trou infini. Il est où mon trou infini? Il est où?
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you Oh, for heaven... You see? I was right. The problem is you. The problem is that you like holes too much.
Oui!
Normal. A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there, goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. You have a weird sort of... Oh.
Attends, il était plus...
Did the hole seem even shorter to you this time? I couldn't help but feel like you spent a little less time in there than you did before. I mean, admittedly,
Regarde-moi la taille.
I didn't make an infinite hole, but I didn't think it was that not infinite. Well, I suppose once again there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of the hole, you can hit the teleport button and come join me up above.
Pourquoi il nous envoie
Had enough? I'm positively thrilled. Gosh, how could I have guessed? You're back in the hole. If this starts to become a thing where... Wow. Okay. Yes. I'm starting to become extremely certain that the hole is not only not infinite, but that it's growing steadily less and less infinite. I suspect that I'm starting to hit the point where it's no longer feasible to call the hole infinitely deep, even by the lax overall standards for accountability in marketing. What's going on here? Stanley, I have no explanation for the uncertain nature of the hole's length. Here,
Peut-être que si je
let's try
continue, il
something.
va être infini.
Let's pop back up to the top, and we'll see if it gets any shorter. Well, there it is.
Mais non.
The shame of my lie has come to haunt me. How is this still appealing to you? I know you're obsessed with holes, but at this depth, I just can't see this scratching the itch. Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it is you're here to do and hit the teleport button when you're ready to move on.
Il marche même pas.
Is the teleport button not working? You sure? Well, I mean, I really don't have an explanation. It was working just a moment ago. Try it again.
C'est parce que je suis déjà sur place.
Still nothing? Well, I suppose there is one thing I can do to fix this. I'm out. Goodbye, Stanley. You couldn't bear to be away from the hole, and now you'll get more time with it than you could ever have asked for. It's a win for everyone.
Mais non, mais
You get to be with the hole, I get to do literally anything else. Take care, Stanley. I hope you and the hole have a wonderful rest of eternity together.
Il est vraiment parti, ce bâtard! Quel bâtard! Il est parti! What the fuck? Oh! Le trou! Le trou! Le trou! Le trou! Peut-être qu'il va devenir infini cette fois? Oh, c'est la meilleure perspective. Regarde-moi ces poils de nez du futur. Qu'est-ce que c'est ça? Je sais pas ce que ça fait. C'est ça un trou infini. C'est exactement ce que je voulais. Une plage. Les pyramides. Le ciel. Des planctons. Je crois. Une peinture. Une couleur. What? Ok. T'as sûrement personne. Je suis le moins en moins bien dessiné le truc. Ah, je suis moi.
Stanley? 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 Oh, good, you're awake. It seems you had sort of dozed off there, drifting away into dreamland. But we can't have that, Stanley, because this hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake for every second of it. You don't want to miss a single moment. So how about if I just pop in from time to time and wake you up to keep you really, truly focused on the hole? From the looks of things, you and I will have many, many years here in this hole, and I'm looking forward to all of them. Stay alert, Stanley. I'll be back. Toodlepip.
Je veux pas. C'était trop le fun. S'il te plaît. Push. Oh. Décevant.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
Je me demande s'il y a de quoi si je t'y retourne. Ah, tu peux pas! C'est pas correct.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along.
No!
Get Well Someday it is.
Je suis déçu. C'est pas ça que je voulais, moi. Oh god. Il y en a littéralement partout.
Maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision. We're moving on.
No!
Come now. You've already made your choice. It's true that you chose badly, but we all have to move on from our mistakes.
No! Please! Saut de réconfort de Stanley Parable.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket.
Ah,
you see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, It's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try.
Oui.
Can you feel it? The
Oui.
glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
I have it.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Je peux entendre mon nom.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Je peux entendre mon nom. Il a pas codé ça là.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named
I am
Jim.
Jim.
I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim. Jim. Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand the impact of this button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name.
C'est vrai que ça
Okay, we're doing it again, and this time let me finish first. Now, allow yourself to become Jim. Imagine yourself driving to work as Jim, playing all right, fine, whatever. It's just a meaningless button that says Jim. Are you happy now? Get out of here. I'm done with this button. Why don't you go humiliate me in front of a different feature that I...
Marex, comment tu connais mon nom? Comment t'as pu savoir? Tu m'as-tu stalké?
Worked very hard on.
Je veux dire appuyer dessus. Ah, je peux!
See, if you'd only played along, that would have been your name the button says, but no. Instead, I can't even think about it. I'm taking the Jim button away.
No! Ah! Ils m'ont enlevé ma feature.
Maybe I'll only let people named Jim play the Stanley Parable 2. They would appreciate what I've created here.
Ray traced. Short with the game.
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it will go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Ah, ok. Ouais, en fait, t'as rien préparé, ton... Il sert à rien. T'as rien fait, finalement. Champion du monde. Ah, c'est bon. Apparemment, je suis pas le champion du monde. Selon eux. Quoi que j'ai pu manquer? Ah, ici. La sortie.
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Je sais pas, il y a un sac à main qui traîne. La
So,
conférence!
Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience.
J'aime ça.
Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
C'est...
Well, I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind.
Il est caché.
Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes. Yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2.
C'est...
Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything.
Ouais,
I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original.
Ouais.
Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game.
Ah, je suis là!
Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
J'aurais en fait un menu juste pour ça. Puis en plus, c'est un vrai menu.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were gone. Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition. I have to say I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause. Perhaps 50 clicks will do it. Yes, almost certainly 50 clicks. No, I'm still not feeling it. I want this achievement to have meant something. It has to be a true reward for valiant effort. I want to see some hustle, Stanley. I want to see commitment, a willingness to go all the way, no matter what the cost. Why don't you go put 20 clicks into door number 417?
87. 87? Où est 87? 4B6? C'est vrai, il y a un doute dans la salle 430. C'était 12-2. Ouais, non, c'est rien à voir. 17? Huh. C'est plus loin?
Stanley felt the bucket calling to him. Oh, great! Now, go click a few times on door 437.
Alors, ça c'est plus loin. Ah, c'est ça.
Excellent! I think we're getting somewhere. Now, door 415. Let's give it 10 clicks or so.
4-15. Hmm. 4-15. 4-16. 4-15.
Now, back to door number 437.
Sérieux? Tu peux ça arrêter de me faire faire des allers-retours?
Let's see. How about you click on, well, I don't know, the copy. All right, back to room 417. I'm really feeling it now. I think we're getting somewhere. Okay, now go climb on employee 419's desk. Yes! This is great! You're putting it all on the line, Stanley. I like that. All right, let's keep it up. Go give me a few clicks on door 416. We've almost got it! Now the copy machine, do that one again!
Ah, il y a le saut ici. Ça me fait juste rire parce que...
Finish it off, Stanley! 5 clicks on door 430!
Ça me fait juste rire parce que j'imagine juste l'employé.
Oh, wow.
Tu fais juste cogner
That
ses
felt
portes de
amazing.
tout le monde.
Oh,
Comme un
you really
malade.
understand it. Nothing could hold you back. Yes, I'm very proud of how far we've come today. Just think, only a few minutes ago you believed an achievement was worth 5 little clicks. Really now, what were you thinking?
Good.
Stanley picked up the bucket.
C'est ça le contenu qu'il a acheté? Oh ouais, attends quoi? Ouais, non, c'est bon, ok.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
C'est ça le meilleur perso selon toi? Non, je préférais clairement la line.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than
C'était
ever.
beaucoup plus chaotique la line.
Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh, no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I've never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it.
Je vais tout lui montrer.
Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go. There. Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things. All right, I've got a second sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see, I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket. That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket.
Ah ouais,
There really is a wide variety of applications.
Moi j'ai un
for this
collant
sticker.
de mon ordi sur mon ordi. Il y a un achievement où il faut avoir le jeu ouvert pendant 24 heures cumulatif. Hop, dans les
You know what? I could take the name-calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us the silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
Il me sent encore tout seul. C'est clairement pas un bon narrateur.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Est-ce que j'ai envie de refaire ça encore? Ah, ben le saut, il va me tenir compagnie.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort.
Oh no.
And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Le bucket!
Stanley! Stanley, it's me! The bucket!
You!
Could it truly be?
Ah, le
He
bucket!
rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special
C'est pas les
bucket.
miens!
Come to me, Stanley! Find me!
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along.
Au fond de
It
moi?
was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out. This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
J'ai peur de ce qu'il va dire.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck,
Le
yes, she
saint
thought to
bucket.
herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
Quoi? Ok, dude. Toi, tu marches pas jusqu'à ton travail.
Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition. Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Oh. Figurine!
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Je m'en vais où, là? Ah! Ah. Où est-ce que je suis? Des cassettes. Oh.
Okay, this is day number 295, tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore. The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down.
C'est vrai.
It doesn't make
Ça fait pas.
sense. There's no explanation for it.
Je comprends.
I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms.
Peut-être même fois.
Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it. Yes. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get... What's that? Who's there? Caporata.
C'est quoi ça? Okay.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh. Chemin différent.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove. Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley figs? What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
Mais
All of his co-workers were gone.
Je sais pas si j'ai déjà été dans la...
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Ok.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door. All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map. Because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you?
Oui.
Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Hey, je suis pas premier? Je suis où? Ouais. Je suis bon. Ben, je suis premier. En partant d'en bas. Mais je suis premier. Arrête de dire autant de vérité. This is your spirit. Good.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience. You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain.
Yes!
Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot. Fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted, erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
La porte Minecraft, sérieux? Le sound d'effect Minecraft. Est-ce qu'il va avoir Bigfoot? Il y a des toilettes là.
Oh no. No, it can't be. It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off. Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing. That big, open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay.
Il n'est pas fait par ceux qui font. Ah, ok, fait qu'ils ont vraiment fait juste une référence à un autre jeu. Ok. Rocket League.
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
Je vais me faire écraser par la balle.
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together? Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Woohoo! Je vais faire un but!
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my...
Yahoo!
Hold on. What are you doing?
Okay.
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley.
I'm running away! Oh, puis le narrateur, quel bonheur. C'est mon bureau? Non. J'ose faire quoi? Ah.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it, down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
C'est quoi ça, un peu long? Ah, ok. What the fuck?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Il en parlait aussi.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office. The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
C'est vrai qu'il parle fort.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good,
Said the bucket.
now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
In here.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Now pick up the...
Là, j'ai un bucket.
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
C'est vrai que je suis un chien encore.
The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head.
Quoi? C'est faux ça?
Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well? To see him delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object? I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me. Oh, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think. It can't talk.
Insulte pas
All
mon
it will
ami.
ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a
Arrête.
liquid from one location to a different
Arrête.
location. That's it. It doesn't do anything else.
Arrête.
You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from, me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket. This stupid hunk of metal. It's sad. I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it.
Non, ça fait rien. Ça aurait été drôle, Walt.
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from one room to another. Oh my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket? Oh no, I'm having feelings for the bucket. No. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say. Do anything it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes, the bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation. Stanley, give me the bucket. Give it to me. Give me the bucket, Stanley. I need it.
No.
Give it to me now. Give it, or I'll...
Morceau.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door. Oh, good Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually.
What the fuck?
You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
Ah, ça continue.
Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well. Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then.
No,
Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
Pas Morceau.
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket.
No.
That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer.
Pas
I
mon
think
seau.
it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree?
Non.
Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you.
Non.
Go ahead now, Stanley.
Non.
Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
Non. Jamais.
Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket.
Non.
I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
Quoi?
The Bucket Destroyer. My prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent. Already this was uncomfortable, and Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life. Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be.
Tout?
Truly, being here with the bucket was a grand adventure. Stanley reflected on all they'd been through together. First, walking through the door on the right, then walking to the lounge, then arriving at the lounge. What a thrilling journey the bucket had inspired.
C'est vrai.
Perhaps this was where the bucket felt
Seulement la
most truly
moitié,
at home.
damn.
Here in the employee lounge. Perhaps it's the only place a bucket can even feel at home. Stanley decided to just give the bucket absolutely as much time as it needed to be in the lounge. Clearly, the bucket and the employee lounge shared a special connection. But finally, the bucket was done being in the lounge, and they took the first open door on their left to get back. And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Ni seul ni avec le... Ouais, ouais. Je pense après la prochaine ending, je vais arrêter. Surtout, je suis à moitié. Oh my god. Something to do with stairs. Okay. Maybe we are the collectibles.
Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I have no remaining stickers. If I did, you can guarantee we'd be in here for hours. But alas, no stickers.
Sûr? Même pas un autre. Juste un petit. Ah ouais. Oh, tu peux chier. J'ai pas
Coming to a
monté le...
staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Check autour. Les gars, c'est trop tard. Yeah, collectibles!
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
Let's go! La musique, la musique, la musique.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would, and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Ça a juste ouvert la même chose. Figurine!
You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the Figler and Marines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them, and now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler and Marines. None of us can.
Ok, cette fois je vais pas remonter. Je le jure.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
What the fuck? Pas sûr que c'est normal ça.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Escape.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
D'accord.
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Je sais que tu vas me l'enlever si jamais tu le contrôles. Le trou! Je suis en vie. Je suis en vie! Ouais.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
Oh.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death.
Oh! C'est rendu qu'on a un narrateur de narrateur de narrateur.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
Attends, il est où mon seau? Pourquoi c'est écrit en français là ici?
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Ah ouais, non, il y en a 25. Je pensais qu'il y en avait plus. What the fuck? Ok. Je peux pas le prendre. Pourquoi ça personne peut contrôler un saut? Présenter son commentaire. Ah, c'est moi ça.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
Je veux l'avoir. Let me. Je vais y arriver. Saute. Oh! Je l'ai! Mon saut!
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die.
No!
Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment
No!
as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
Je suis mort. Non! Mon saut! La suite est en pause. Bon! Donc! Hop. Juste regarder ça ici rapidement. Déplacement automatique. Ah, pour avancer le même cas. Alright! Tu dis 21 ou 22 endings? Damn. Donc, je vais vous laisser. M'aller manger, j'ai faim. Mais en vrai, c'est incroyable comme jeu, what the fuck. Honnêtement, je trouve ça incroyable comme jeu. J'ai seulement genre... Enfin, seulement, attends, ça fait 3h32 que je joue, fait que tellement ça fait pas si peu de temps que ça là, mais... En vrai, c'est génial, je sais pas si je vais y rejouer... genre... Aujourd'hui en tout cas, mais... c'est sûr que je le termine bientôt là. Ça a l'air incroyable. Enfin bref, je vais vous laisser, je vais aller manger et à une prochaine fois. Donc, tchuss!